This is a hose bib. Pipe comes out of the ground, supplies it with water. You put your garden hose on this end. This is the valve, turns it on and off. You can use your hose for whatever. We use these for stock tanks, for watering the cattle. This one here is a slightly different model, different style. I think this is actually newer than this one, so they made them differently. I've paid anywhere from $9 a piece for these to $29. It depends on when you buy them, where you buy them. They can be pretty expensive at your regular hardware store. I go to a landscape supplier, I get them a lot cheaper, but even then I've paid almost 30 bucks for them there. I'm sure they're probably just made in China, something like that, but they can be really expensive. Out here we have really hard water, a lot of calcium, a lot of minerals in the water, a lot of corrosion. You'll see all this white stuff, all this corrosion. It'll rot out the pipes. Here's one. This was a splitter. This one got so corroded I cannot separate it from this. I got to do either torch it or do something else to get this to break down. It's just so the water here is just so hard, so full of minerals and such. Now I got a bunch of these. These, I don't know what you would actually call this. This piece of rubber, probably vinyl. Okay. This is where they belong. This is the part that slams against the other portion of this, kind of like so, and stops the water. When you open it, this piece of vinyl here opens, the water slips past and goes from your pipe to your hose. Hopefully that makes sense. These things, because of the hardness of the water, they dry out. They no longer, they lose their rubberness, their spring, whatever you want to call it, and water slips past these, and you'll get a constant drip. So they just start dripping. All right. And one or two of these valves dripping isn't going to be that big a deal, but I have probably 21 or 22 out in the field for irrigation and for the water tanks. And I've had half of them leaking all at the same time, which would be like having a hose on, which is hard on your pump, your well, and it's going to cost you a whole bunch of extra at the end of the month for your power, your electrical power. It'll drive your utility bill up, especially out here in California. So I can't have these things leaking, all right? So instead of having to go out and buy another one of these, you know, like I said, anywhere from $9 to $25, they get real expensive. I figured out how to take them apart and replace this rubber goodie right here. Finding the rubber was the hardest part, but these basically comes apart. You see that there? That's that rubber stopper we're talking about. What did I do? Oops, hang on. So we've taken it off the pipe, we've taken the base off of this thing. You got a little Phillips screw right there. I loosened this up last night, so it should be that tough to do. Take this out. And you'll notice this thing should slop. Oh, actually, you know what? It falls right out. It's not, it's meant, it's like a plunger. It's meant to go up, down, whichever. And this is what will control that. But the screw is for getting this vinyl piece out of there. Now I already cut this one to fit. Slapping. You might be wondering where I got it. It took me forever to find this kind of rubber. Go to your hardware store. And this is I don't know if it's not a toilet gasket, but it's in the toilet plumbing department. This came with several sheets of different stuff. It's all gasket material. This was a paper one here. This is a cork. I don't want that, that won't work. That'll work for something else. But this was perfect. It's just thick enough. And it's just rubber. Plumbing department. this started. I popped a hole in this thing. Put that screw in there like that. Twist that thing back on. We stuff it back in there like that. Doesn't have to be, it's got to be, you want the right size, but it doesn't have to lay perfectly flat because it's going to be forced down by this anyway. Now I'm going to drop this back in here like so. Put the base back on. There's a rubber gasket around here too, or it might even be paper. I need my pipe wrench. Anyhow, you put this in vise, tighten that up. That's ready to go. Tighten this down. You don't necessarily have to take these off. Sometimes you got to clean these out, and these will come loose. But then you'll have to separate that from it as well. But if you just open this up, remove the plunger, I'll call it, replace that piece of vinyl with this piece of rubber, this thing will work again. It'll put this thing back in business. I've done a dozen of these, and they still work. Not, they last just as long as the others did, maybe longer. But the real trick was finding this rubber here they at the hardware store, and this has something to do with toilets. But rubber gasket material. Anyhow, this one here is a slightly different style. This one you actually pull from the top. I made all these loose before, otherwise you had to put them in a vise. They don't want to give up that easy. Once again, we've got I've already put a piece on here. We take the screw out, put a new piece of rubber in, put it back in, screw it together, we're good to go. Anyhow, hopefully that'll save you some money if you got a leaky faucet, hose bib, whatever you want to call it. Love you, God bless.